Many of us find it fascinating that Harris has not taken any questions since the Dems' backroom deal that put her at the top of the ticket. GARM got billions from the feds targeting conservatives. Kamala Harris may have sent agents to raid a pro-life journalist's home after she met with Planned Parenthood. This is Dr. David D. Schein for a special episode of Saving America with our weekly update. Here are some of the top stories from the last week. The headline is State Department responds to CCP's escalating attacks on Falun Gong in the U.S. Of course, the reality is that the CCP has little respect for anyone outside their closed circle. This is especially true of the inept Biden-Harris administration. In a prior Saving America, I introduced Falun Gong to my audience. This is a group that focuses on self-reflection and meditation. In Red China, there are 70 to 100 million followers. Of course, the insecure CCP losers like Xi hate any competition for the minds of the peasants. What is especially disturbing is that this persecution of the followers has spread to the U.S. Those Chinese fortunate enough to get out of China are being harassed here, according to reports. The U.S. State Department reports that the CCP will surveil, threaten, and harass PRC nationals, including Falun Gong practitioners. An interesting sidelight in this is that leaked information pertaining to the CCP strategy for sabotaging Schein Performing Arts. This is a New York-based classical Chinese dance company that was founded by Falun Gong practitioners. Many of us have seen their advertising, including their nice TV commercials. Apparently, the whack CCP consider even this performing group to be a threat to their false narrative of a communist utopia in China. The Schein ads even say that they present China before communism. An interesting fresh headline from NTD says 2 men have pled guilty to a bribery scheme to take away the tax-exempt status of the Schein Performing Arts. Kind of interesting, folks. I call on local law enforcement to coordinate with the State Department to investigate and prosecute any foreign actors who interfere with this peaceful sect. Trump slams Harris on inflation. My audience is well aware of the political battle between the Trump-Vance team and the Harris-Walz far-left team. Many also may be aware that the Biden-Harris backers are trying to rewrite history by falsely claiming that the inflation started under Trump, not them. Many of us find it fascinating that Harris has not taken any questions since the Dems' backroom deal that put her at the top of the ticket. In the meantime, her campaign has tried to change every far-left policy of hers to cover up what she really stands for. The days of her being called the failed border czar, calling for Medicare for all and elimination of private health insurance, and supporting domestic terrorists with bond money are being swept under the rug. In an interesting twist, one law enforcement official she includes in a TV commercial has come out to condemn her. Love that payback, folks. We're all looking forward to her actually answering real questions. In the meantime, the wrapping paper is really off the whack leftist Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota. And remember, he was the governor during the burning of Minneapolis, where he did virtually nothing. He has had such a bad start that all of his stories seem to be contradicted by people who do not have a dog in the fight. I wonder if he'll be removed like the Dems did to George McGovern's VP candidate in 1972. Most of you listening do not recall that Thomas Eagleton, the U.S. Senator from Missouri, was forced to withdraw as McGovern's VP candidate after admitting that he had been previously hospitalized for nervous exhaustion and had undergone electric shock treatments. That latter part is the key thing. People were concerned about whether he was really okay. I guess the Dems aren't too worried about that, or they wouldn't have put Biden into office, huh? In the meantime, the Biden-Harris administration is desperately trying to get a Mideast peace deal in the face of an Iran attack. As Israel tries to stamp out Hamas and the cowardly Hamas continue to hide behind their own civilians, the Biden-Harris administration knows that they look weak and useless. Not a good look in a competitive presidential race. Continued attacks by Iran proxies is bad enough, However, there is fear that Iran will directly attack Israel and the world will know just how useless our current administration is. Blinking fool may go down as the worst Secretary of State in history. How long has Iran penetrated the Biden-Harris administration? This is a great story that has received far too little attention. Why is the Biden-Harris administration so soft on Iran, including the prior Obama administration? The terrorist scum running Iran say they want to wipe out not only Israel, but the USA. Sounds like you'd want to take a really hard line to Iran, doesn't it? A hot air article suggests that this may be due to someone who was employed by both the Obama administration and now the Biden-Harris administration until very recently. That person is Rob Malley, who reportedly is under congressional investigations, plural. The report claims that two former aides to Malley were identified as members of an Iranian spy ring, one of whom is still working for the government. Whoa. Further, Phil Gordon is working for Harris as the national security advisor and apparently is tied up in this group. So if the campaign security advisor is soft on Iran, how does that bode well for the free world? It gets better, folks. Operating in the open in the USA is the National Iranian American Council, NIAC. It's a non-governmental organization that advocates in Tehran's interest. It is allegedly considered a spy organization by U.S. intelligence. So why are they still operating here, huh? In a story that has evolved, the Biden-Harris administration made a deal with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of 9/11, and two of his deputies. They would get life in prison at Gitmo without having to face the death penalty. As public outrage ramped up overnight, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, also known to my audiences as Mr. AWOL, suddenly showed up to retract the deal. Time for these three to be hung and revived 1,000 times each to make up for the 3,000 deaths that they caused for 9/11. And remember, many hundreds and hundreds of others died later from exposure due to asbestos and other contaminants at the 9/11 site. I'm telling you, Harris cannot be trusted to watch out for the security of America. GARM got billions from the feds targeting conservatives using your tax dollars, folks. This is another evolving story. I stay pretty up on things, but I'd not heard of GARM, which stands for Global Alliance for Responsible Media. Frankly, folks, in 2024, anytime I read something that was set up for responsible media, I start smelling a rat. A new report by the Foundation for Freedom Online claims that 4 of the 6 largest global advertising agencies have received billions of dollars from the federal government. GARM is a project of the World Federation of Advertisers, WFA, which accounts for 90% of ad spending worldwide. Hey, maybe this needs to be under a monopoly investigation, hint, hint. The 4 agencies, IPG, Omicron, WPP, and Publicis Group, were shown to have received U.S. taxpayer dollars. A recent report by the House Judiciary Committee revealed that GARM has used its influence over internet revenue streams to pressure platforms, including threats against Twitter X, Spotify, and non-establishment media. I guess that's Newsmax and OAN and some of those folks. In a country that frequently claims superiority over the rest of the world due to the First Amendment to the Constitution, the suppression of conservative speech seems like a serious violation. And of course, the Biden-Harris crew keep claiming that Trump is the one to worry about regarding freedom. So Elon Musk sued GARM for effectively an illegal boycott of his Twitter X and other conservative media. Well, the brave people behind GARM just shut it down. It seems it was legit. Wouldn't it stand up and fight? Yes. How about federal air marshal whistleblowers exposing a weaponized TSA Quiet Skies program? The whistleblowers have reported that former Representative Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii, a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve and a 2020 Democratic presidential candidate, has been a target under the program, resulting in her being added to TSA's suspected terrorist watch list. Folks, I'm sorry, I don't know Tulsi Gabbard very well, but she would be way, way, way down the list if I was looking for people to add to the suspected terrorist list. I think this is a shame, regardless of her political views. So it sounds to me like a mafia deal. Leave our gang, the Democrats, and we make sure you are punished. And about those freedom-loving Dems, Kamala Harris may have sent agents to raid a pro-life journalist's home after she met with Planned Parenthood. So a report in the Daily Signal covers the raid on reporter David Daladine's house. He's the founder of the Center for Medical Progress. This is an anti-abortion operation. There's nothing illegal about that. Had he been on the other side of the issue, he had probably been awarded a Pulitzer Prize. So he worked undercover to record what was going on. The allegations were that Planned Parenthood was selling the body parts of aborted fetuses. So in 2016, California, then Attorney General Kamala Harris meets with Planned Parenthood. Only 2 weeks later, Daladine's home was raided by the California Department of Justice, which under those circumstances may be a serious misnomer. This raid smacks of another coincidental raid, that of Matt Taibbi by the IRS the same day he was to testify before Congress about government abuse. The Biden-Harris administration has weaponized the IRS, having them make unannounced visits to taxpayers' homes to harass and intimidate them. Supposedly, this practice has been stopped. However, if Harris-Walz wins in November, look for that offensive to reawaken. The IRS uses its new employees to harass more taxpayers. So the Biden-Harris con job involves saying that the IRS increased staffing would go after rich cats who were not paying their fair share. However, many observers say it was to chase small dollar businesses. Remember the $600 trigger? Folks, I'm sorry, in the Biden-inflated America, $600 just isn't that much money. And it has to chase small dollar businesses and people like waiters and waitresses. So some people nearly fell down laughing when Kamala copied Trump's no taxes on tips platform plank. Yeah, well, why did you add all of those IRS agents chasing tipped employees if you were serious about not taxing tips? Russian prosecutors seek a 15-year treason sentence for U.S. citizen Ksenia Karolina. As I have already commented, the recent Biden-Harris prisoner swap was yet another failure of the administration. Here is a Russian who emigrated to the USA in 2012. She is visiting her family in Russia. They spy on her mobile phone and find out that she contributed, got it, $51.80 to a charity that may end up giving support to Ukrainian troops. On this basis, she was just convicted of treason. Again, she's not a Russian citizen anymore. The question is, why is she still in Russia after the big swap? She should not be. Got an electric car? It might be outdated sooner than you think. The EV automakers have accelerated the release of upgraded models, unlike the typical 5-year cycle for gasoline cars. Part of that is they're advancing the battery systems so EVs can run longer without a charge. Now, part of the problem with that is it may mean that those who have paid a lot of money for EVs may find that after just a few years that their street value becomes very low. Also, I am concerned because we're approaching about the 10-year cycle for Teslas, which were kind of the first full-service EVs out there, that are going to need battery replacement. The rumors I hear is that is going to be very expensive. This is Dr. David D. Schein for Saving America Weekly Update. Thanks for joining us, and please subscribe on your favorite platform.